Today's tip is going to talk about the driver logs. Now, this is not available on the light version, but on the Pro and Elite versions. And I don't know if you guys have used the driver logs, but when you go to the driver tab, there is an option for driver logs. Now, each time we assign a driver or unassign a driver or change a driver, all of this gets logged into these driver logs. And so when you click on this, you can then expand out a driver and you can see every transaction that has been made against that driver. So we can see we've removed an assignment, the driver declined, and we're going to talk a minute about the decline feature, which is fairly new as well. So you can see we've assigned or unassigned. And so if you put a reason in on a change of a driver, those will be included in here as well. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through. You just can expand these out. And it will tell you if it's increasing or decreasing the number of hours as you do each one of these. And so there are some pagers at the bottom, so you can click all if you need to see all of those, and then just expand out whoever you need to see in the driver log. Now we've also recently added an export to Excel for the driver logs, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use this. So I'm going to click on Export to Excel, and you will see this comes to the bottom of your screen. Depending on the browser you're using, usually it'll come down to the bottom left. If you're on Chrome, it may come into an area near the top of your browser if you are on Firefox or some other browser. So I'm just going to click on this to open this and let you take a look at what the driver activity looks like. When the spreadsheet opens up, you will see at the top a yellow bar. You have to click on the Enable Editing because you're opening this spreadsheet from the internet. So you just simply click on that to start that. And then you will see another yellow bar, which is to enable the content. So you need to click on those as well. You may not see both of those. Some of it depends on how your Excel is set. Once you're in here, you'll notice there are columns. The first column is the driver name. You have the date and the time that the log entry was created, who it was that did the action as far as assigning or unassigning the driver, and then the action is basically says what would happen first, like a remove assignment, the driver name, the trip number, the date, the time, whether it was increased or decreased the driver's hours, and then kind of a log code. So some of the things that you can do from this spreadsheet is that you can filter on the driver name, and you use the filter buttons at the top of each of the column to be able to narrow this information down. And you simply just click on those, and so you're going to click on these and you will see that the driver names all appear. So one of the first things you can do is unselect all of the drivers and maybe select a particular driver from the list and click OK. And that will narrow this list down to just their entries. If you want to start again with this, you can click the filters on and off button to clear the filters and then turn it on again to get your filter buttons back. And one of the quick things that you can do as well is when you click on the filter button, you can simply type in the search box. And so I might be able to type something like Walker, and that will show me anybody in the list that meets that, and then click OK, and that will show me those particular entries for that driver. Again, I'm going to clear this and turn the filters back on and show you this last column, which allows you to also filter in the log entry. So we can do things like declined. If you want to know what drivers have declined, you can click on the filter button for the action column, and then you can simply type in declined and click OK, and that would show you all of your driver declined entry. Now the driver declined feature is fairly new, and we're going to cover in just a minute how that works, but you we'll notice that as we do this, we can also put some comments in if when a driver declines. And so this is a really nice way to be able to track that. So now that I've brought down just the decline entries, I can also scroll over and then potentially look at a particular driver in the list that potentially declined. So if I wanted to see, for example, Aaron Pless, that would show me all of their declines. And so this is a great way to track that when you're looking at your driver information. Next, we want to talk a little bit about the driver logs and what goes in those, and features such as the declined on the drivers. So I pulled up the assignment inquiry. I'm just going to pull up a particular trip assignment from the inquiry and show you how when you change a driver or decline a driver, that this information goes into the driver log. So if I go down into the driver section, you will see that there is a driver decline button. There is also one on the trip request as well. So if I change a driver, that will be logged in both the trip and the assignment as well as the driver log. So I could actually change this driver, Bill Fall, and let me just pull some drivers, and I'll put John Smith on this one. And notice that I can put something in the log notes that said need to sub because Sue Jones was out sick. And so this is nice to have. You need a history of to why you might have either gone out of rotation or if you get any kind of complaint or anything. So we're going to just click change here and change that driver. And then you might see that later John Smith declines this trip, and so I'm going to actually just do a driver decline here. And the reason the driver declined, out of town, and we're going to click OK. And what that's actually going to do, if you're on the assignment, it's going to remove the driver, so you will then need to assign another driver from here. So I wanted to mention that just so that we can go in and look at some of the driver log entries that went with this. So again, I'm going to the driver tab, driver logs, and I am going to go down to John Smith and expand that out, and you will see here that the driver declined, and the reason here lists out of town. And then also here where we did the subbed in John Smith here needed to sub because Sue Jones was out sick. So you see all of that goes into that driver log, which can again be exported to Excel using the export to Excel button at the top. Thank you for joining us for today's tip.